Hi! On the Woodpecker today, I'm assembling my new X-Carve. Recently, the people at Inventables contacted me to send me a free X-Carve. They wanted my honest review of the assembly process and the performance of the machine. So I gathered help from the people around me and started right away. First thing first, if you're like me and you have to go to the post office to get your package, it might not be a good idea to use your wife's car if you are lucky and own a bigger car. Otherwise, you'll end up having to need her just to remove the wasteboard box from her car. Here you can see all the packages I received from Inventables. I need to get it all out of the boxes. The big flat box, just like I predicted, is the wasteboard. This is huge. Behind it, they stick the hardware necessary to assemble it. But the glue stayed on the MDF. Even if it's behind, I don't like it, so I clean the glue with mineral spirits. Next, the long box contains all the rails and maker slides. One thing I can say is that it's well packaged and it's nearly impossible to become damaged while in the mail. The square box contains all the necessary stuff to assemble the whole machine. The last two packages are some PC board and drill bits that I ordered in as extra supplies, plus a 1/4-inch collet. The kit only comes with the 1/8.
We'll start by putting the top feet on.
Before starting the first step, we carefully watch the video, which shows all the steps of this part of the process. There are also written explanations with pictures of the part we're assembling. Unfortunately, they don't always have a video. This will bite me in the rear end later on. All the screws, washers, and necessary pieces to build this are in well-identified plastic bags. But don't expect spare parts. We start by assembling the X-Carve. It's a tight fit for my big fingers, but I manage anyway. Here it is, my first assembled piece. I still have a lot to screw in before I'm finished. These are all the wheels of the X-Carve. Then I can screw the motor and all the small things needed on it. Then René and I work on the Y plates. When the plates are ready, we can screw them to the maker slides. All the maker slide screws are self-tapping. I need a lot of muscle to screw them in place. But with a drop of oil, it's a little bit easier to form the thread. When I'm done with them, I can screw the Y-axis and plates. Before screwing the other side, we insert the X assembly on the maker slides. Now that all the maker slides are in place, I can cut 3 lengths of belt, fish them in place, and secure them firmly. We need to install 3 belts, 1 for the X-axis and 2 for the Y. Now it's time to work on the Z-carriage. I went a little too fast and installed the top plate upside down. I need to undo what I've done and reassemble it, but in the right way this time. Now I can screw all the wires in place. Okay, There's a lot of wires to screw, but it's well explained. Next, I solder the limit switches. I brought my iron back from the cottage just for that. While I make all the necessary solders, Renée tapes all the wires together. Then she fishes them through the drag chain. Next, we install the spindle assembly. Now we're ready to screw all the insert nuts under the wasteboard. Then we can assemble all the pieces for the wasteboard. But after working on this for nearly an hour, I think I made a mistake. This section has no video, and I'm pretty sure I followed all the instructions. But one picture at the bottom of the page makes me think that I did something wrong. I don't have a corner like this. So I disassemble it and reassemble it the same way. I did it correctly the first time. This picture threw me off the track. Now we can screw the mechanical assembly part onto the wasteboard. Next, Renée fishes the rest of the wires into the second drag chain and I put it in place. Now we start to work on the electronics. Renée assembles the power supply, while I screw all the wires to the G-shield board. I also have to make more soldering for the limit switches and the spindle control. Then the two circuit boards plug into each other. One thing I can say is that the electronics doesn't look too slick. But I feel right at home, because it takes me down memory lane to 13 years ago when I used to make these types of electronic projects. Even in those days, I used to hide all my messy wires inside a wooden box. But the construction is not completed yet. I need to install the limit switches stops. And I have to check the squareness of the Z-axis and make it square. Now I can do the first test. The Z and Y axis work fine, but not the X. It doesn't take long before I find that I forgot to connect one wire. After screwing it in place, everything works fine. But now I have some issues with the limit switches. The only electrical wiring plans for them are this picture. When I take a closer look, I notice that the switches don't start at the first hole. I made a connection error. I fix it and everything works fine. At this moment, Renée and I are a bit fed up working on this, so we take a break. The next morning, we move the X-Carve and I prepare everything to carve my first logo. To do so, I use Easel, which is the Inventables free carving program. It works with a web browser program, but it doesn't work with Firefox on my computer, so I have to install Chrome. Bringing my logo into Easel is quite simple. After drawing it in Photoshop, I choose the image vectorizer option, browse for my logo, and import it. Then I scale it up to the size I want, set the depth of cut, and I'm done. I just need to carve it. The program asks to activate the homing cycle, and everything returns to the bottom left corner. I adjusted the switches so my 0 is at the position 0 in the X-axis and 2 in the Y. Now with the control buttons, I move the end to the corner of my carving. Then the program asks some more questions, like, is the piece well secured? Is it the right size bit? And is it at the right position? Then I can carve my logo. But just before pressing the button carve, I start a stopwatch and up we go. This is the finished piece. When I look at it, I find it's a tiny bit nicer than my old one that I left in my old shop. The only thing I need to do to finish it is to sand it a little. Cut it to the right size. Paint the carving in black. When the paint is dry, I need to sand the mess around the carving. And finally, brush a coat of finish on it. I also made some tests and drew my logo on another piece of wood with a Sharpie. I drew the same logo onto a piece of fabric. But it didn't work on a t-shirt. I wish I could say that everything went perfectly, but I can't. At one point I noticed that the y-axis was far from smooth and was skipping. While searching through the Inventables forum, I found a solution. I adjusted this spot so more current flows through the output driver. It's probably because the y-axis has two stepping motors and needs more current. But now everything works perfectly. I also had problems with some nuts. I had none with the lock nuts, but I had to buy more nylon lock nuts to put on top of the eccentric nuts. I had 4 of those eccentric nuts that unscrewed themselves because of the vibrations. But once I added the lock nuts, I had no more problems. But I have to say that I like the look of the drag chain. This helps keep all those wires hidden and it looks great. I love all the centimeter divisions on the wasteboard. Using them makes it easy to align the workpiece and to move the cutter head at a precise position. But I have to be honest, I'll have to hide the electronics because it's not really pretty. But it's not so bad. I was able to create my logo in 3 different ways, and I'm happy with the results. Thanks to Inventables and to you for watching, and I'm pretty sure I'll use my new X-Carve in future episodes of the Woodpecker.